The Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and your local cable provider presents Cable Reports. Join us now as Cable Reports brings you up to date on current issues facing the Commonwealth through discussions with your local legislators and other policymakers from across Virginia.
Welcome from the General Assembly and the City of Richmond. I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports and Comcast. As we begin the 2004 legislative session here in Richmond, Virginia, we are very pleased to have a guest from Northern Virginia, the Prince William County area, Senator George Barker. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
So what's the initial reaction to the new administration? You Democrats swept all three statewide offices. What impact, if any, will that have on this 2014 session?
Obviously, it will have some effect in terms of the session, but the main thing is that we have pretty much the same composition within the General Assembly, and so we will be working from pretty much the same perspective that we've been over the last few years. We are, last couple of years in the Senate, we've been evenly divided 20-20 with a Republican lieutenant governor, breaking ties in some instances. This year, if we win the two open seats that are there now as a result of Lieutenant Governor Northam and Attorney General Herring getting elected, it will still be 20-20 because there were no general elections for the Senate this year, but there'll be a Democratic lieutenant governor. But we work together across party lines pretty well in the Senate, and I expect that to continue. The House of Delegates has roughly the same type of composition it had previously, so we're at least familiar with each other and know how to work and get things done.
Well, those two open seats have yet to be determined. One, I believe, last Friday was won by the Democratic nominee by 9 votes, so that's going to be subject to a recount. And Senator Mark Herring's seat in Loudoun County isn't scheduled for a special election until the 21st of this month, I believe.
That's correct. We do fully anticipate there will be a recount in the race down in the Hampton Roads area where Linwood Lewis, who's a Democratic delegate right now, won the seat by 9 votes. We do not expect the recount to change the outcome, so most likely certainly the expectation is that he will be senator within a week or two. In the Northern Virginia situation, Attorney General Herring's seat, that election is scheduled for January 21st, and I'm optimistic that we Democrats will hold on to that seat. It's been held by a Democrat since 2006, so I expect it will continue to be so. If those both happen, then it will be 2020 in the Senate, and we will move forward from that standpoint.
Now, we talked a little bit about Northern Virginia, especially the part of your district that encompasses Prince William County. How has the economy fared there since the recession?
Well, Prince William is actually the place, Prince William, Manassas, and Manassas Park were the places in the entire Commonwealth that were the hardest hit by it. You had a situation where housing values went down 50%, or in many instances more than that, within a 3-year period. In the city of Manassas, the assessed value of the average townhouse went down over 63% between 2006 and 2009. A lot of people struggled. A lot of people were upside down, underwater on their mortgages. We had had the highest foreclosures by far in the entire metropolitan Washington area, as well as in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But what's been encouraging is that things have been rebounding. Prince William is a strong county. We're continuing to grow. Has a fabulous school system, despite the rapid growth within the student population. It's amazing what's been achieved with fairly limited resources over the last few years with the school system. And a lot of people tell me they moved to Prince William County for the schools. That's one of the big attractions to coming to the county. We don't have as many jobs within Prince William County as in the other Northern Virginia jurisdictions. That's something both the Board of County Supervisors and the General Assembly members from Prince William are working on. And we're trying to attract more jobs into the Prince William area. Part of the problem we have now is that complicating our traffic situation is the fact that the vast majority of people who live in Prince William and who work travel outside the county, mostly north and east, to get into Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria, the district, and even Maryland in many instances. And we need to develop more jobs within Prince William County, and that's certainly a focus for us.
Now, to what extent did the recession put a strain on the budget there locally in Prince William County? Because obviously our counties rely upon property taxes in order to fund government.
Well, it put a huge strain because the main source of income for the county is the real estate tax. And when the value of your average house has gone down 50%, suddenly you're in a situation where you're struggling to be able to meet service demands from the public with the resources, because the tax revenues have decreased so dramatically. Fortunately, things are turning around. Housing values are going back up. They're not certainly nowhere near where they were in 2006 and 2007, but they at least are heading in the right direction. What's also been encouraging is that the school system has done extraordinarily well with very limited resources for a few years. The Board of County Supervisors increased the percent of local money going into the school system a little bit last year and is committed to do that again this year. The Prince William area, along with the two cities, has the highest class sizes, largest class sizes anywhere in the Commonwealth, and that is really a focal point of the school board, the General Assembly members, and the Board of County Supervisors to address those issues.
Now, you mentioned transportation and how
Yes.
big of an issue that is, and congratulations to the General Assembly last year for finally putting together a transportation package.
Right.
Now the hard work begins in terms of prioritizing the needs statewide. What do you see happening in terms of what the Transportation Board may do in terms of Northern Virginia?
Well, it's both the Transportation Board at the state level acting on things, but there's also a lot of the money is regional money for Northern Virginia. And that money will be, the allocations of that will be determined by the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, and Prince William has had very strong voices on that board. Marty Noe's on that board right now from the Board of County Supervisors. And also some of the money will be allocated by the Board of County Supervisors itself. So I think we are in a very good position to move forward. I'm very encouraged by what's being proposed and what's starting to go forward with transportation projects. Fortunately, a lot of the decisions are being made based upon where the congestion problems are the worst and where you can alleviate problems. And we're the place where it has the longest average commutes anywhere in the Commonwealth, among the longest in the nation. And so we qualify for a lot of the resources because of that. So we will get us a large percentage of the money.
Now, there's a lot of ongoing construction. I believe the HOV lane is being extended
Yes.
south, and it will eventually improve things. But right now, of course, there's a lot of traffic congestion as a result of that.
There certainly is some traffic congestion as a result of that. You need to time your trips.
Yes.
Early in the morning, they don't do construction. Rush hour in the afternoon, they don't do construction. Between 9 and 3, there's a good bit of construction that is going on the 95 corridor right now. I think what's encouraging is that the HOV lane will be extended a little farther south from Dumfries down into Stafford County in the Garrisonville area initially. The HOV lane will be expanded from 2 to 3. One of the issues I worked on for 5 years, and in the end had some success, was concerns had been expressed to me, and certainly I agreed with them, that by converting the HOV lanes on 95 and 395, which are among the 5 most effective transportation systems in the entire country in terms of number of people moved per mile per hour. Right now it's been all based upon HOV and a limited number of hybrid vehicles. But that's been capped for several years, the number of hybrid vehicles. And so what it means is right now, people who are traveling those HOV lanes, they never have a problem. The average speed from Dumfries to Springfield in the morning is 79 miles an hour. So people are able to move quite rapidly through that area. I've been concerned that by getting the toll-paying vehicles in, if there were not some safeguards built in, under federal law, they could slow down the average speed to 45 miles an hour, having almost more than a 50% increase in the amount of time it would take somebody to move. We want people to use the buses. We want people to use the carpools, which are 3 or more in that corridor. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my legislation through the General Assembly, but I kept working on the governor's office and working with those developing the hot lanes. And in the end, they did agree to set the minimum speed at 55 miles an hour rather than 45, which they could have done under federal law. So there will be some reduction in speed there, but at least it's not going to be as damaging to the commuters who are doing the right thing, taking the buses, taking the carpools to get where they need to go. And so there'll be a little bit of slowdown in terms of traffic and a little bit lengthier times to go forward, but not as devastating as it could have been.
Now, the tax on the hybrid vehicles remains a somewhat contentious issue. I understand there may be an attempt to repeal that part of the transportation package. Where do you think that lies?
Well, there have been bills put in to do that. I think that right this year, most likely we will not tamper with the compromise that we reached last year on it. Nobody gets what they want when you put together a package like that, but going in last year, if you, Woody, had told me that we were going to get a $1.4 billion a year transportation package passed, I would have wondered where in the world you invented this. But in the end, we did. I mean, it was a tremendous accomplishment that we got with a $1.4 billion a year transportation package, the first major transportation package in 27 years. So come back in 2040, we may do it again. So in another, it'd be another 27 years. That's how far out it would be till the next one. But that package will provide tremendous relief to Northern Virginia. We will get in the end about half the money out of that based upon what we get from both the regional tax and from the statewide portion of it, because we're not losing any of the statewide money in Northern Virginia. And it will help us in terms of roadways, but it will also help us in terms of the rail projects. You know, VRE and those will benefit tremendously. And it will provide the opportunity, I think, over the next several years to really be able to move forward on extending the metro rail lines down into Prince William County. That can make a tremendous difference to commuters and to people within the county.
Now, the state did away with the gasoline tax and substituted in lieu thereof a sales tax. How are the revenues, or do you know how the revenues have come in so far compared to the gasoline tax?
Well, we didn't do away with the gasoline tax. We reduced it. So it went down from 17.5 cents a gallon to roughly 11 cents a gallon right now. So it has reduced, and that's part of the reason most people saw a small decrease in the average gas price back in July when this went into effect. The revenues thus far are on target with what we projected, both from the revenue we're getting from the 11 cents gasoline tax as well as the sales tax revenues. What happened with the sales tax was for the statewide component, it went up 0.3% from 5% to 5.3%. In Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads, we have a regional tax that's another 0.7%. So our total tax in Northern Virginia now is 6%, as it is in the Hampton Roads area. We get to keep all of that 0.7% tax there, as well as a couple of other things locally within Northern Virginia, and we get to decide how that money is spent and for which project it goes. We get to be able to target those to the things that are make most difference to us in Prince William and the rest of Northern Virginia, and it's a tremendous benefit. It will help tremendously long term. It will also provide more opportunity to get more jobs into Prince William County. Because as we have the transportation system, that's one of the things that some of the larger employers have said that they were a little hesitant to establish operations in Prince William because we didn't have the transportation network. This will help us get that.
Going back to local education in Prince William County, one of the complaints one continually hears are the problems with the standards of learning as they impact students, but also teachers. I wonder how many members of the General Assembly have ever taken an SOL test?
I think there actually are a couple now, so because there are a couple of young delegates who are young enough to have taken it. And in fact, when Governor McDonald was giving his last speech to the General Assembly, he did note as related to transportation that the previous time that we passed a major transportation bill was 1986, the same year that one of the delegates was born. So there are a couple who have taken them. But a lot of the rest of us, we may not have taken them ourselves, but we've had our children or grandchildren have taken those types of things, and we're fairly familiar with it. There are some proposals and to shrink to a small extent the number of tests being taken, and particularly to reduce some of the tests in the elementary and middle school years. I expect something to emerge out of that. I also have a couple of bills in to address the testing issue. One is to give each local school division the flexibility to administer the tests when they want. Complaints that we always get are that, well, a lot of the tests are given a month before school's out, and then you know, everybody there's a pressure on students and teachers to get ready for those tests and everything. You have the test, and sometimes it's hard to get all the curriculum covered because you're giving the test a month early, and then it's sort of a letdown and not a whole lot of additional teaching or other types of things going on. This will, if my bill passes, it will allow the locality to say, for this set of students, for this test, we want to give it, you know, near the end of the school, closer to the end of the school year, to be able to give them more time to be prepared for it, and also to have less downtime of a sort afterwards. So that's the other bill I have in related to that is to allow every student, regardless of grade level, who doesn't pass the SOL but comes close, generally in the 375 to 400 or 380 to 400 range, on the SOL test to be able to retake the test shortly after the first time they took it. A lot of children have struggled with it. They get apprehensive. They don't do as well as the test. If they're given the opportunity to take it again soon, they're more relaxed, and this time they can pass it.
Now, some suggest that the test focuses on memorization versus analytical skills. Is that something that you've heard from your local school districts?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's no question it does that. It does not do as much as we would like in terms of the testing analytical skills. And, of course, one of the other things that's important in the real world is being able to work collaboratively with other people, and it doesn't incorporate that type of thing. So there are some limitations to it. There have been some changes made to the test that incorporates more of the analytical types of things. But I don't think we will resolve that through legislation this year, but we certainly will be working with the administration during the coming year and with the State Board of Education to address some of those types of issues because we need to make sure that the tests are geared towards the types of things that are most beneficial to the students long term.
Now, there's also a statewide authority that was created last year that would allow the state to take over failing schools or school districts. Does that affect Prince William County at all? And if not, what is the reaction generally to that piece of legislation?
Well, I oppose that legislation. Our Constitution, and I think that legislation is unconstitutional. Our Constitution says that the decisions about schools will be made by the local school board. Each school board will make its own decisions, and the state is not empowered to come in and take that away from the local school division.
So because it's a legislative fiat as opposed to a constitutional amendment, you think it's unconstitutional?
Yes. Okay. And actually last year, I mean, they initially put in a constitutional amendment. They knew they didn't have the votes to get it passed, so they withdrew it and said, well, we'll try it without it. What was interesting was then when there was a challenge to it, Ken Cuccinelli, who was the Attorney General up until just recently, a Republican just like Governor McDonald, who proposed the OEI takeover bill, Ken Cuccinelli said, I'm not going to defend the bill because I agree that it's unconstitutional. So here you had a Republican Attorney General saying that the initiative of the Republican governor was unconstitutional. He wasn't going to defend it. What happened then was that Governor McDonald, through the governor's office, hired his own attorney since the Attorney General wasn't defending it. I'm not sure that same policy is going to be continued under Governor McAuliffe.
You've got one of the larger universities in Prince William County. Talk to us about how it's done and how it's grown in size over the years.
Well, I mean, we're lucky in Prince William in that we have two branches of Northern Virginia Community College as well as George Mason within the county. They provide tremendous opportunity for a lot of people to take classes, to go through college. George Mason campus is growing. It's still much smaller, for example, than the campus in Fairfax, but it is a growing entity, and there's a lot of exciting stuff going on at the George Mason Prince William campus related to some of the science and research types of things. We also have the Governor's School that operates out of there for students from Prince William, Manassas, and Manassas Park. And some of the things these kids are doing just blows your mind. Some of the research that they've been able to do, and they get in and do their own research projects. They're not just sort of assisting some professor with things. There was a student from that actually has discovered a way to have a much more effective early test for the detection of Lyme disease.
Wow.
And so that's now being tested to make sure that that there aren't side effects that are not recognized at this point. But that was developed by a student just at the George Mason campus from a local high school student. So we have tremendous things that are going on there. The workforce capacity things that have been done through the two Prince William campuses, one in Woodbridge and one in Manassas, of Northern Virginia Community College are tremendously beneficial. We're able to provide a lot of people opportunities to get the certifications and the experience and the understanding, the knowledge they need to be able to move into the workforce into well-paying positions.
And of course, diversifying the economy in Virginia is one of the goals that the new governor has, and there's been an emphasis over the last few years on science, technology, engineering, math, and health, not only at the junior college level, but at our institutions of higher learning as well.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of that benefits us tremendously. We have what's regarded as the best, or certainly one of the very best, higher education systems in the entire country. We have a great community college system and great four-year universities as well. That provides tremendous opportunity to our students. We've got to make sure that they have the preparation and the ability to get into those schools. One of the things that also is, I think, extraordinarily important to understand is we've already been moving very fast in diversifying our economy, and we just need to keep it up. The Northern Virginia population has grown exponentially over the last, actually almost a century now. From the 1930s to now, there's just tremendous growth. We've been averaging growing by more than 300,000 people per decade since 1950 in Northern Virginia. Last decade it was over 400,000, and we're on pace to be 450,000 this decade. We've had that growth for a variety of reasons, but part of it's been that we've developed a lot of opportunity in terms of a lot of businesses, business opportunities, high-paying jobs that attract people to the area, that bring people from other parts of the country here, and also the cultural aspects, the education, the great school systems we have. Those have also attracted a lot of people. A lot of the people in the military come and have a tour of duty at the Pentagon. They decide Northern Virginia is a great place to settle. So when they leave the military, they stay in Northern Virginia or come back to Northern Virginia from where they were. Those types of things have helped us be on a tremendous path of growth. We're now the wealthiest area in the entire country in terms of median household income because we have this diversity that's been built in. So we have good federal jobs, but also a lot of private sector jobs. All the Fortune 500 companies that have moved from one state to another in the last 6 or 7 years have come to Northern Virginia. So we're doing the right things, and what we need to do is to keep it up and continue to provide opportunity for both the people who are here in Northern Virginia now, but for the people who want to move to Prince William. So,
is there a real need now, given what's going on in Washington in terms of sequestration and budget cutbacks, for the state of Virginia to start transitioning away from the reliance on federal largesse, if you will, and the creation of more jobs in the private sector?
Well, there clearly is, but we've already been doing that in Northern Virginia. We actually have a much smaller proportion of our economy in Northern Virginia is driven by the federal government than even the Hampton Roads area, the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area. They're much more reliant upon the federal government because they're so heavily reliant upon the military bases and those operations that they have there. We used to be in a similar situation to what they have, but what's happened is over the last, particularly the last 30 or so years, since say 1980 or so, we have developed a tremendous private sector operation within Northern Virginia. And as I said, all the Fortune 500 companies who are moving, they're all coming to the Northern Virginia area with their headquarters and stuff. They see the attractiveness of Northern Virginia. They like being in Virginia. They like our business-friendly environment here in Virginia, the things that help companies to be able to be successful. So this is where they're coming when they're moving now. And it's allowed us, we have tremendous high-tech infrastructure and industry within Northern Virginia. Those are good high-paying jobs, the type of thing that helps build your wealth within your community and helps build the resources to have good school systems and the other things we want.
I noticed the governor in his remarks wanted to provide an additional $3 million or so to teacher salaries in Northern Virginia in order to help the localities there attract good teachers. Is that part of the local composite index formula, or is that something different?
Well, what we've had over the years is we have what's called the local composite index, and that sort of sets the base resources that each county or city receives from the Commonwealth for their school systems. We do receive a fair amount of money in Prince William, partly because we don't have the job base there that some of the others do in the local commercial tax revenue. But in addition, the Northern Virginia jurisdictions have got a little bit extra money because of the much higher salaries that we have to pay. Governor McDonald put higher salaries for teachers, but not for the rest of the staff. Obviously, the rest of the staff also get higher salaries. What Governor McAuliffe has proposed is to add a little bit of that, but we need to go much farther beyond what he's provided to make sure that we're taking care of our kids within Prince William.
Now I want to draw upon your expertise in the healthcare industry, because you've been involved in that for some time.
Sure.
And of course, the governor last night made a call for the General Assembly to speed up the process, so to speak, in terms of a decision about the expansion of Medicaid. There is a commission that's dealing with that issue. They're looking for reforms from the federal government. I think the previous governor wanted to extend that effort until 2016. Where do you see that playing out this session?
Well, obviously, that's going to be one of the major issues that we tackle during the General Assembly this year. I thought we did a very good job with what we did last year, because in 2013, what we did was we passed a budget that said we will do Medicaid expansion, but we will do it when a couple of conditions are met. One is we will do it only as long as the federal government lives up to its commitment in terms of the resources it's committed to provide for that. I expect they will, but I agree completely. If they don't, we pull out and then we sort of figure out what we do at that point. But we also said that there are certain reforms we wanted made to the Medicaid program. It's really not the federal government. We would do them ourselves. And then a couple of waivers we need to get from the federal government. We've been making those reforms. They're essentially, everything's on target for all those reforms. So I think we're now in a position to move forward because we have made our Medicaid program an even more effective program. We have one of the most effective Medicaid programs in the entire country because we've already addressed a lot of the issues that some other states are struggling with now. And I think it provides us a tremendous opportunity to be able to provide resources to help people stabilize the assets of the local hospitals, which we're now getting hospitals starting to close because they have so many uninsured people coming to them that they end up having to take care of for free, and to be able to provide opportunity for everyone to get the health care resources they have. In Prince William, it's basically all working people. So it's not people who are not working. It's families and individuals who are working but are working at jobs where they don't have health insurance coverage, mostly small businesses that need this coverage there, and it will help them tremendously.
Now, as I understand that the expansion would amount to about 400,000 new recipients of health care in the state. Some of them would now be childless adults who currently don't have health care coverage.
Yes, I mean, right now, people think if you're poor, you get on Medicaid. In reality, that's not true. If you're poor, you do not necessarily get on Medicaid. Only if you're under the age of 19 and you're below 200% of poverty, you do qualify. If you're elderly and have some disabilities and need some long-term care, you qualify. If you are totally disabled, people have intellectual disabilities, that type of thing, they qualify. But the average person, if they're between the ages of 18 and 64 and they're below 138% of poverty, they can be at 0% of poverty or 10% of poverty and they still get no coverage. What this would do is provide help for those individuals and families. And basically, they fall into two categories. One was the working families. We have a lot of those within Prince William. And the other is individuals with significant mental health and substance abuse issues that we need to provide services to help them be able to hold full-time jobs rather than sort of sporadic type things, which many of them have now.
Less than a minute left. Some brief comments on the mental health issue that has been driven, unfortunately, by a tragedy concerning one of your colleagues.
Yes. I've worked on the mental health issue for many, many years, going back long before I got elected to the Senate. But I've worked on it over the last 7 years in the Senate and have several proposals in. We put money in the last couple of years. We're putting another $38 million proposed this year. We will put in that amount and maybe even more by the time we finish the budget. We are reforming the process for what happens when someone has a breakdown and needs a detention order, and I think we're going to improve it dramatically this year.
Great. Thank you for being with us, Senator George Barker. Thank you for watching Cable Reports. Until next time, I'm Woody Evans.